Welcome to another episode of Take a Bite Out of South Florida. I'm Shaina Wizov, and I'm really excited about today's episode because I'm here with one of my really good friends, Kristen. So this is kind of like we're just casually hanging out, and we're going to talk about what Kristen does and an event that we're going to be hosting this coming up soon. And so we've got a lot to talk about. So Kristen is a sports nutritionist, certified personal trainer, an emotional eating specialist, and the founder of Create My Weight, which is a health and weight loss program specifically focused on travel-friendly nutrition, fitness for all levels, and one-on-one accountability for busy professionals. Kristen loves helping people improve their relationship with food and fitness, and she has clients all over the country. She currently lives here in Delray, goes back and forth between here and Colorado, and we're happy to have her here today on the show. So welcome.
Oh my God. Thank you so much for having me. I have been so excited to just collaborate with you because I know we have just so much in common. You know, both you and I love to eat out, travel. We both love our wine. Absolutely. And of course, like fitness. And so this is something like a really good collaboration. Of course, part of my job is to help people be motivated to like work out and like stay on track with their nutrition. But oftentimes, like we want to live our best life.
Right. We don't want to give up the things that we love. Actually, that's Kristen and I met years ago at a gym here in Delray, and we've been friends ever since. We have a big group of girlfriends that we love to work out and be active, but we also like to go out to eat and have drinks and, you know, bottomless brunch and happy hours, but be mindful of it and still make sure that there's that balance between, you know, your social life and also having a healthy lifestyle. And that's sort of Kristen's whole, you know, background and concept between her Create My Weight company is this idea of food freedom. So tell me exactly what that means. What is food freedom? And, you know, let's get into it.
Yeah, let's get into it because like I hear this a lot because on my Instagram, my social media, I talk a lot about food freedom and people are like, well, does that mean I could just like drink all the Prosecco that I want or can I just like eat pizza whenever I want? And I was like, absolutely not. Like food freedom is the ability to eat the foods you love in a way that supports your goals, right? So for us, like our goals are to be fit, kind of like be on track with our health and also like live our best life. So with that, we teach balance and moderation in CMW. And the reason why this is a skill we teach specifically with strategy is because that's very hard for people to master. I find that a lot of people are really like all or nothing. So like they're either like on the bandwagon, like doing really well, like giving up alcohol or giving up carbs or giving up sugar, or they're like totally in the deep end, right?
It's hard to find that healthy balance. It really is.
Yeah. And I find like, you know, women, especially like we have some emotional attachments to food. Like if we have a really tough day, we want to come home and have like some chocolate or like a glass of wine. Like I used to be a severe emotional eater actually, and this is what prompted me to build my practice, Create My Weight, was because I was someone that went for like cookie dough all the time, or like I loved my peanut M&Ms or my like Monster Trail Mix at the end of a long day. And not that I was a binge eater, but like it was just like that comfort I was looking for because I was like totally a stress eater.
Yeah.
And so that's something I had to work on. And that's what I mean by changing our relationship with food. So instead of like craving those foods and, you know, we're not going to be happy unless we eat them, it's like learning how to look at them differently so that we don't want them all the time. And we can consume less calories, we can be healthy, you know, even like if we go out, for example, like, you know, I can put down my Salt Bar. You and I both love that. And Shaina introduced me to Salt Bar, which I'm like so thankful for.
If people don't know what Salt Bar is, it's a Prosecco and it's a very low calorie, low sugar, low sulfites, all naturally produced. And it is fantastic.
Yeah.
So it's our favorite Prosecco.
Yeah. It's the only one I drink now. And,
Pretty much.
And actually 2 weekends ago, I hosted our second annual CMW retreat over in Palm Beach, Florida. And I had it there for my clients. And my clients, they loved it. And actually, I talked to a client earlier today and she's like, I just ordered a whole box for my niece for her birthday. And I know she's going to love it. And my client, Cindy's not even a wine drinker. She's a beer drinker. And she drank it at the retreat. And she's like, this is really good, you know?
I love that.
So yeah. So shout out to Salt Bar. But yeah, no, I think it's just important to, again, learn that balance. And, you know, it's like, well, I can also like, I can have some Prosecco or I can also not have some nights, you know, and that's what food freedom is. It's like when I'm going to, you know, own that decision, I'm going to feel good about it. I'm going to enjoy myself. I'm not going to worry about it. No guilt around it. Or, you know, I'm not going to have any because I don't feel like it and I can have some another time. You know, that's what the food freedom's about. It's really about feeling empowered to feel good about our decisions. Because I hear so many women, especially, we tend to feel guilty if we overdo it on, I don't know, chocolate, or if we overdo it on the chips or the popcorn I hear all the time. Like, I'm not a popcorn person.
I'm not either.
I know. And I know you can't even eat popcorn, right? Right.
And even if I did, though, I've never really been big on it. It's just, I don't know.
I know.
I don't like the kernels. They get stuck in your teeth. It's gross.
Yeah.
It's annoying.
I know. I actually had some the other night because I had some leftover in my house. Probably one of our girls get together. So I'm like, oh, I probably should finish off this Trader Joe's popcorn. It was like really good. But I'm like, like I could go for something else, And I'm more of like a purposeful carb kind of girl. Like if I'm going to have a carb, like it's a really filling.
Same with snacks for me. Like I'm not a huge snacker.
Yeah.
But like if I am going to snack, it's going to be something really good.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you know what I love? And I think you're the one who introduced me to those peanut butter or almond butter filled pretzels, the Quinn brand.
Quinn.
They're so good.
Mm-hmm.
And they're gluten free, which I love, and dairy free.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm like, if I'm snacking, it's same with the carbs. Like if I'm gonna have bread, it's gonna be good bread, gluten free, good bread. Same with pasta. If I'm gonna have pasta, I want it to be worth it,
Yes. Yep, exactly. And that again is part of food freedom, like choosing what's worth it and what's not.
Right.
And
don't just eat just to eat.
Right, exactly. Just because I go to Olive Garden, there's some bread in front of me. Like I'm Italian, like I like a real good quality bread. I'm not trying to like say Olive Garden bread's the worst thing. It tastes good sometimes, but sometimes I'm like, I'm gonna pass on this bread. But if I go to like an Italian restaurant with like homemade bread, like we're
fresh out of the oven.
We're like Philly girls. Like actually one of my best friends from college, her dad owns the bread company that distributes bread to all the Steven Starr restaurants in Philly.
Ooh.
Yeah. So when we would go out to restaurants in Philly, I would of course eat the bread at the Steven Starr restaurants because I know where it came from. I know that it went bad in 2 days if you didn't eat it. Whereas a lot of these other breads we see on the market,
with preservatives,
they can last for weeks.
Yeah.
And it's just like if it's lasting that long on the shelf, like how long is it lasting in your body?
Yeah.
So these are things we have to think about, and that's also something in CMW we talk about. We talk about like health first, weight loss second, and both with strategy. And so again, I know you're super health conscious. I'm really health conscious, and I try to be as gluten free as possible. I'm always thinking of you, like what would Shaina do if I'm at a restaurant? Like dairy free, gluten free, and those are things we'll talk about at our upcoming event. But yeah, I just think, but if I'm going to go to an Italian restaurant, I'll have like some real bread or like a little bit of pasta because I know like I don't get affected by it. I know you do. Like you have the symptoms. Yeah.
So like when I eat out, I definitely choose, if they have gluten-free options, I choose. And even, a lot of people say the whole, like, if you're in Europe and you have, you're gluten-free, you can eat over there. I mean, I don't think it's the same for celiac or if you have, like, severe allergies. But when I was in Italy and France, I chose to still eat gluten-free bread and pasta. I would have little bites of Rogers here and there, and I didn't feel any adverse reactions to that. But my personal choice was that I don't want to chance it.
Yeah, I get it.
I just, I veer on the side of caution for that. And, it works. Some places have really great choices now. I mean, it's way more choices than before. So thankfully, which is always nice.
I love that. I think we're super lucky in 2024, even like at airports or even like in convenience stores. Like if a client tells me, oh, I can't find anything healthy when I travel, I'm like, I don't buy that.
Yeah, you know what? 10 years ago, I would totally agree. Mm-hmm. Now, you can always find something. I've never, maybe it's not, there aren't that many options, but typically you're going to be able to find something. You can't not, and especially most of the airports now have like full-fledged restaurants inside.
Yeah.
Like you can get, a salad or a piece of chicken and some vegetables or something. You just have to make do with what you're given in those situations, and you can usually figure it out.
Yeah, and actually, and part of the food freedom piece is also like understanding nutrition and knowing like what works for me and what doesn't, and what's good for my body. How will this food serve me? And actually, speaking of airports, I was stuck actually in Houston Airport a couple weeks ago for a layover, and we had like 40 minutes to kill. It was me, my boyfriend, and his son, and we were just like we went into like one of the shops, and it was like snacks and magazines and books and just like little knickknacks and stuff. And my boyfriend's son, he's 15, he's a hockey player. And so he's starting to get really interested in nutrition. And so I was just kind of like looking at the protein bars and just some of the other snacks. And just because I'm always doing market research for my business. And I wasn't even hungry. Like we just had a nice breakfast, but we were just kind of looking around. And I was actually very impressed with the quality of some of the protein bars at the in this little convenience store in Houston. And Houston is actually known to being one of like the larger cities in Texas in terms of like obesity and like health rates. So I was like, wow, like Houston Airport's like really showing up.
That's
like,
good. And I know you're big on the energy and protein bars. You always do like comparison. You have some that you really, really like, and then some that you're like stay away from.
Yeah, we actually have something in CMW called the CMW Approved Foods List. And I use this list because if clients ask me, well, what are some protein bars you recommend? Or what are some yogurts you recommend? Or what are some cheeses even, you know, or waffles, cereals.
Yeah, just brands in general. It's hard.
Yeah.
When you're just starting off, like when I was just starting off in this gluten and dairy-free, you know, adventure, journey, whatever it is, I just remember going into Whole Foods one day and just wandering up and down the aisles looking at foods.
Yeah.
Just kind of familiarizing myself with, okay, this is a gluten-free brand for this, or pasta and bread and crackers and chips and all these things. And this was about 6 years ago now, so the choices are way better now. And I didn't know too much about it, but it's really hard when you're just starting off in a health and nutrition journey or a gluten-free journey or whatever. You to have someone to kind of guide you along and give you recommendations for brands is so helpful.
Yeah, especially because like nowadays, even myself, like I'll go into Whole Foods, for example, and I'll go in the protein bar section or a Wegmans, for example, in the Northeast. And there are so many different bars in the market. And I'll just happen to, you know, take a look at what's new and I'll read the ingredients. And so many times, Shaina, like I'm just very disenchanted. You know, I was like, wow, like this is a $4 protein bar and it's really not that great ingredients.
You're like, it's basically a candy bar with extra protein.
Exactly.
And you know what I recently started noticing more is the seed oils.
Yes.
Those are not good.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I always am kind of looking for sunflower seed oil is in so many things.
Yeah. And it's a
which
cheap oil.
I never really knew about. Roger was listening to a podcast recently and he was like, we need to try and stay away from the seed oils. And so I've been noticing it more and I'm like trying actively, if I pick something up and I see the sunflower seed oil or seed oil in general, I usually put it back.
Yeah.
It's just that you don't realize like looking at ingredients is super important.
Yeah, it's super important, but it's also like sunflower oil is a great example. It is hard to avoid. It's really in a lot of the foods we use these days. Is it the worst oil in the world? I'm going to say no. I think like soybean oil, vegetable oil, you know, cottonseed, safflower, rapeseed oil, like there are some peanut oil, you know, all of these are very inflammatory. And I'm not saying sunflower oil is great. I would definitely recommend like avocado, coconut, extra virgin olive oil. But you know, it's hard to avoid. So one thing I'll share here in terms of like food freedom, because one of the things I try to do is to make clients less stressed about food in general, because in our society, there is so much information out there, right?
Yeah.
And we had this at our retreat this past weekend. We were learning about detoxification and just, you know, what's important and what can we like kind of chill out about a little bit, right? Because we could like drive ourselves crazy, like obsessing over, oh my gosh, like
obsessing over organic and, you know, words that just have blown up are now like, you know, buzzwords.
Yeah, exactly.
And they just can make you go spiral. You can spiral.
Right, exactly. And the lines are so blurred nowadays in our society of like, you know, well, if something's considered organic, like, well, how clean is it really? You know, because our standards in the U.S. are different than other standards, right?
Yeah.
So it's also important for everyone listening to this and even clients I work with to know, like, you know, do the best you can to avoid certain things, you know, like sunflower oil, for example. But like, know that if it's in some of the foods, like it's not the end of the world.
Right.
There's other things you could do in your diet to kind of mitigate those effects. We can eat other anti-inflammatory foods, just so people don't like stress too much. Because I think also one of the keys to longevity is minimizing our stress in our life. And so this is another reason why we talk about food freedom, because I want people not to stress about eating certain foods or about their weight constantly or, you know, working out too hard and that causes too much stress in the body. So
yeah, and stress is it causes inflammation. Like there are so many times, I think you and I have talked about this. Sometimes like we're bloated from stress.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Like, and then as soon as you calm down, you realize like, oh, you're like, all right, cool. I don't look pregnant anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Like for example, today I'm wearing this like super tight dress from like one of our girlfriends' like clothing swaps. And
it's very cute.
Oh, thank you. It's so comfy actually. But I'll tell you what, like a week ago, I probably wouldn't wear this dress because I was bloated from stress and I was very conscious of that.
Yeah.
But today, like I'm super not nervous or like not
Great.
stressed. Oh, thank you. And I was like, because I love talking about this kind of stuff. Like it's just been a great week so far, but like I'm very aware of my body. And one of the biggest things we talked about in our retreat last week was the number one cause of disease is unconscious living. So when we're not conscious of what we're doing or what we're not doing, that's when we're doing ourselves the greatest disservice. So, the power of education, listening to this podcast and really learning about nutrition and what foods serve us and what foods don't serve us is really the key to longevity. And you've done that. Like you've learned like what foods are good for you, what foods are not good for you, and you stick to that. And
I try.
Yeah.
Sometimes I fail, but for the most part. And I think you also saying like what serves you and what doesn't serve you and figuring it out for yourself as an individual and not trying to follow all these fad diets and the things that people say, this is what you should be doing. Like no one's body is the same.
Yeah.
We don't all need to follow the same diet. All of our bodies need different nutrition. We react differently to things. Like for me, I'm like, one thing, I'm gluten free, but I also don't eat corn. Corn bothers me sometimes more than gluten. And I know corn is something that bothers a lot of most people have adverse reactions to corn, but like I'm way worse than, like people eat corn tortilla chips all the time and I'm like, keep that far away.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's everybody's body's different and it's really important to learn what works for you and what doesn't.
Yeah.
And just kind of, don't follow the trends, as much as you think that it's going to work. Like sometimes there's, keto's super trendy.
Right.
I tried it and I hated it. Yeah. I can't take that much fat.
No.
I learned that about my body. I was like, my body doesn't handle that much fat in one day. I was like, this is not for me. Some people, it's great. So
yeah, and that's what we talk about in CMW. Like some of my clients, like they're more fat. I don't want to say fat heavy, but like they gravitate more towards healthy fats, and others are like my carbaholics, I call them.
Yeah.
Like they love the bread, like the potatoes or like the beans or the legumes, and so that works for them, and they're super happy with that. It's funny you talk about corn because people don't realize that like corn is actually one of the most genetically modified crops in the U.S. And so unless you're eating like organic corn, like it's something good to kind of stay away from. It's not easy to digest, like you said, sometimes it makes you feel worse than eating like regular bread. And that's true. And I hear that, so that's why it's like you said before, like hearing these labels, like sometimes like gluten-free is not always better. So that's why it's important to learn what works for your body. And also too, it's funny because like I have some clients that like, they don't drink at all, and you and I, like we like our cocktails, like we talked about, but like I'll never push that on people because I don't want people to do things they don't like.
Of course,
but I want people to know like, you can make your choices. You cannot drink, you can drink a little bit.
You can have mocktails.
And
then another thing that this is a good segue into it. It's like if you do want a cocktail, low ABV cocktails and mocktails are very trendy right now.
Oh my God.
And the low ABV thing is something that you have, you have your signature drinks that you make. And so, tell me, enlighten me more about this low ABV. Why is this good for you? Why is this a good choice?
Yeah, so this became a trend, I would say, a few years ago. And actually, I was over at Bucan and Palm Beach the other day, and I'd never been there. I cannot believe
such a great
I've never been
restaurant.
there. Holy moly. My friend Shelby and I went.
They're opening one in Coral Gables. So Miami's getting some Chef Clay Conley food down there, which is fantastic.
Oh,
He's
so
such
lucky.
a good chef.
Yeah. So I went there a few days ago, and I was, looking at the mocktail low ABV section of the menu, and I was so excited because low ABV is a way that like you can still enjoy alcoholic beverages, but for like way less calories and way less alcohol. And one of the reasons why it's good in general to minimize alcohol consumption is because one, its effect on our hormone balance, right? So typically when we consume alcohol, it's going to decrease our testosterone, even if it's temporarily. It will decrease testosterone, and it'll actually increase our estrogen levels, right? And so typically, if we're looking to build muscle, we don't want to lower our testosterone levels. We want to increase them, right? And if we're looking to burn fat, we actually don't want to elevate our estrogen levels. Yeah.
Right.
So that's one of the reasons why I typically recommend to clients, like, if you're going to drink, that's okay. Let's try to do it in moderation and also just be mindful of what's happening to our body. Of course, can we counteract those effects through exercise and through other dietary changes? Absolutely. But just know that it will affect hormone balance. And some clients say it affects their sleep and all these things. So that's one reason why they'll cut back on alcohol. And low ABV cocktails will allow us to, minimize how much alcohol we're consuming. And we're also going to save, I would say, like 100 to 200 calories per drink, depending. It's a lot.
That adds up.
It adds up, absolutely. Because, like, for example, one of the cocktails we're going to have at our event coming up, and I had this in my retreat 2 weeks ago that the clients loved, is I call it the CMW 75. So, like, I love, and you and I both love
French 75.
a good French 75.
Yes.
But that has gin in it. And what's the other liquor?
It's gin, champagne, and lemon.
I thought there was like one more liquor, maybe not. Okay, so but like let's say gin, for example. Gin is typically you have an 80 proof gin or you have a 100 proof gin, right? So that will range anywhere from 120 calories to 140 calories right there in just the gin, right? Because of the alcohol by volume, the ABV. But if in this version of the low ABV French 75, we call it the CMW 75. We used a Blanc Vermouth, which Blanc Vermouth is only 15% alcohol by volume versus the 80% alcohol by volume. And alcohol, like, you know, and they have different calories depending on the proof that they are, right? So the lower the proof, the less calories that are in the actual alcohol. So that's why a low ABV cocktail will be less calories overall. And so like we were saying, like it adds up over time.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
And I could have a couple of, you know.
Yeah, we can throw back a couple French 75s.
A few of those probably. Yeah. So we can save, you know, 300 to 600 calories.
Yeah.
And if you cut 500 calories a day, you guys, that's a pound a week. Easy. Just with one little change. So I always say this in CMW. It's these little things that we can do in our daily lives that are not that difficult. It might take a little thought and a little practice, but they lead to big changes.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of clients in the food and wine industry, and they drink like kind of like you do all these like fun events, and it's
you
part
do
of
wine
your
tastings and pairings and all of that. It's just part of the biz.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, sometimes people will say, oh, well, I'm going to drink red wine because it's healthier. It's like, well, yeah, there's the resveratrol and other antioxidants. But if, like, let's say weight loss is a goal for you or maintenance, for example, like red wine's going to have a higher ABV. It's going to have like a 15% typically, whereas a white wine might be more like 11.5 to 12.5%.
Right.
So it's less calories ultimately.
Interesting way of thinking about it.
But
You mentioned... we've both mentioned our event a couple times now, and you're talking about the cocktails. So Kristen and I are hosting a healthy happy hour right here at Pixelworks, which is where the podcast studio is that we're recording. It's Stella Mix Studios here at Pixelworks in Delray Beach. And we are going to have Kristen's signature CMW 75, as well as Stilt Bar Prosecco and Sparkling Rosé for our guests. And then we have a private chef coming in making some really delicious tapas-style appetizers and desserts. And we're going to have like a little bit of a talk. Kristen's going to talk a little bit about, you know, being mindful when ordering out at restaurants. I'm going to talk a little bit about how to order at restaurants with dietary restrictions, gluten-free, dairy-free, corn-free, whatever free you may be. And just basically like a little mingling, and we're super excited about it. Tell me about the chef and some of the food that we're going to have here.
Yeah, so Anna Maria, she's actually based in Boca Raton, Florida, and I actually had her come to our retreat and do like a full 5-course dinner for my retreat participants. And I hired her because I had her food at a local event in Boca a few weeks ago. And her food was so light and healthy and flavorful, which is important because we're foodies
Absolutely.
and we want like good food, but it wasn't salty, it wasn't oily. And she did like a great, like for our retreat, she did like a mahi dish with like tons of fresh herbs, and she's Peruvian. So it was like a Peruvian theme.
I didn't realize that. Oh,
yeah.
God. Peruvian food is like
so
top
good.
is up there for me. Yeah.
So she'll be here at our events, and she's doing some of the same foods that we had at the retreat. So it's Kristen approved, and
I love that.
You're gonna love it. It's all Shaina friendly too.
I'm super excited about that.
Super excited.
So I didn't even say when. Our event is happening at the end of this month, May 31st, right here at Pixelworks. There will be a link for tickets in the caption for the podcast. So if anybody wants to come join, it's $35, and that includes your drinks and your food and hanging out and, you know, mingling, meeting some people in the area that are, you know, maybe your new best friend. You know, I love that. I just love being able to like connect people. I always say that about myself as I'm a connector. I really love hosting events so that people, like I have friends in all different circles, right? And I love when people meet each other from these different circles and then end up hanging out, and they find business synergy or something. It's so rewarding for me.
Yeah.
We've been talking about doing this event together for like over a year now.
Yeah.
So I'm glad it's finally coming to fruition, and it'll be really great. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, well, that's why I love this area so much, like Delray, Boca, Palm Beach. And that's why, you know, I live between here and Colorado now, but like I love being home, I call it, because like of our community. Like we have such a strong health and wellness community. And that's why like this event's going to be great, because we're going to be bringing in people from different elements of the community. We're going to have some really great gift bags from some of our friends that own like a local spa. You know, we have all kinds of great things coming for our members. So one thing I'm actually really excited about is our mocktail, because so if you guys don't like alcohol, like, or some people are just trying to like cut back in general and they're really trying to stay off of it, we have this amazing mocktail. We actually had it at the retreat.
Yes.
It is a spicy jalapeno paloma. And so it's just in Mexico.
I love a good Paloma.
Yeah, and I was just there, and Paloma's actually the national drink of Mexico. A lot of people...
Is it really?
Yeah, and a lot of people think it's a margarita.
Oh my God, I didn't realize
that. But it's the Paloma,
that.
yeah.
Well, sometimes I like Palomas better if they're made... We have a juicer, or not a juicer, but like a citrus squeezer at home. So Roger will squeeze fresh grapefruit, and so we make all our Palomas that we make at home with real fresh squeezed grapefruit, and it makes all the difference.
It's all the difference. Oh yeah,
it really does. And he does it with orange too for like mimosas and whatever else. But and fresh squeezed lime for anything. I mean, it just makes such a difference when you use not like a store-bought juice.
Yeah, it not only tastes better, but it's better for your body.
Yes.
So we'll have that
sugars, all that.
At the events. Like we're going to do fresh squeezed lemon juice for the 75s. We'll do a fresh grapefruit for the Palomas. But we had this Paloma at the retreat, and we were all like blown away with how amazing it is. And the jalapeno just gives it an extra little
bit
punch.
of a kick.
Yeah, it was so good. So I'm so excited for everyone to try it.
That'll be delicious.
Yeah, it will be really good.
That.
Yeah,
I love
super
that.
pumped.
And we have some really great, you mentioned before, we're going to have goodie bags.
Yep.
We have some really great sponsors for that. Peaceful Body Spa in Delray, Flotate in Delray, with also locations in Fort Lauderdale and Deerfield. Who else? We have a CBD company.
Yeah.
A few others. So we're definitely going to treat our guests to a nice little night out. And it's from 5:30 to 7:30 on a Friday. So even if you had, plans later on Friday night, it's not really eating into your weekend. It's the perfect kickoff to the weekend. Yeah. And yeah, I'm excited about it.
I'm so excited. Actually,
and Pixelworks is such a cool spot for an event. Like, it's a co-working space, right? But you have the podcast studio is here. There's a full photography studio that you can rent with all the equipment and everything you could need. There's also office space you can rent or like whatever, and then come and just work for the day. But it's a cool space to rent for an event. You have a kitchen area. It's perfect. And there's, we have a big TV. We can put up PowerPoints and all of our logos, and it's such a cool spot.
Yeah,
I'm
I love
excited
it.
to introduce all of our friends and guests to it because I don't think most people have been.
No.
Since it's kind of tucked back here in this Delray Design District that's semi-new to the area. The warehouse area back here has been here, but they've recently transformed it into this design district, sort of like a mini Wynwood. It's cool with there's artwork, and so I'm excited to have people back here and check it out and introduce them to the space.
Yeah, definitely Wynwood vibes. It was my first time here last week when you mentioned this place, and I came and I was like, this place is so cool.
It's super cool,
right?
right?
Oh my gosh. And as an entrepreneur, like it's nice to, I work from home, I have an office, but it's nice just to get out sometimes and just like work in a different space.
Yes,
and,
absolutely.
it's
in
nice to
different
have that.
change of atmosphere, it helps. It's super helpful.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I wanted to transition. Let's talk about eating out. I know that's going to be a big part of our event about eating out and at restaurants. What are some of your favorite places, and not just in Delray, Boca, Palm Beach, Miami, wherever, where you feel like you love going for food freedom? Like, what are some of your favorite things to get, and where restaurants?
Yeah. So I'm a pizza girl. Actually, on the cover of my cookbook, we have a pizza. We have our own like CMW mushroom truffle pizza, which is amazing.
I think I've had that
I think you've had
or the
it.
fig one is the one I...
Oh, you've had my fig pizza.
Yeah,
I call it the vineyard pizza.
That's my favorite.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It's goat. Oh my God. It's so good.
Yeah,
goat cheese, figs, balsamic.
Caramel onions. Yeah. And prosciutto.
Prosciutto, yes.
Yes,
It's like all the best things.
All the best things. Is that
on
my
a
cookbook?
gluten-free crust.
Gluten-free crust. Yeah. It is on my cookbook, but I can definitely share it with you. So when I go out, I try to eat things that I wouldn't make myself at home. Can I make a pizza at home? Yes, but I don't have like this amazing pizza oven.
Yeah.
And by the time I go out and buy all the ingredients, I'm like, you know what? Let me just go to a pizza place, So I really love going and getting a good quality pizza. So one of my favorite pizza places in Delray is actually Rose's Daughter.
I was just going to say, for pizza, Rose's Daughter.
MG. Yes.
Their gluten-free vegan pizza, I dream about it. It's so good.
Mm-hmm. So good.
Oh, now I want pizza.
I know, now I want pizza. And even like our non-vegan friends, and Shaina and I are not vegan, but like that pizza is something
it's
special.
So good.
Yeah, it's so good.
I've gone on a hunt for gluten-free pizza, and I can't veer from that. It's my favorite.
Yeah. So I love going there. Other places in Delray I like to go to eat. Oh my gosh, where do I begin? I mean, it's funny because now I'm only here a couple months a year.
Yeah.
And so it's like, well, if I'm going to go out to eat, I have to be very judicious in where I go so I can like fully enjoy myself.
You've been talking about Prime Catch a lot recently.
Yes,
You like Prime Catch.
I really like
I'm
Prime
a fan
Catch.
Too.
Their fish dip. Talk about food freedom. Phenomenal.
Their fish dip is actually one of the best I've ever had. It's so good.
Yeah, and I'm not even a big dip person because usually most dips, especially fish dip, guys, it's like so mayo-y. Like it's just too heavy.
Yeah, theirs isn't super.
No, not at all.
It seems like it's more fish than mayo. Yeah, when there's too much mayo, it's like gloppy.
Yeah.
It's gross.
And you just kind of feel like this is like a lot.
Yeah.
You know? So I love going to Prime Catch. I love the environment. I also had some of their fish dishes. Like they'll do like a nice, simple, like blackened, piece of fish with like, Brussels sprouts or like another vegetable. Like they're really good about not being salty. Where else had I gone recently? I'm trying to think. Well, I mentioned Bucan. Like I had this lion's mane salad over there, which lion's mane is a mushroom type. And it's known to help with immunity, for brain function. I actually bought some at the Delray Farmers Market this past week, and I'm going to try to recreate this recipe.
What else was in the salad?
It was sesame, ginger, fresh spinach, and it was a warm salad, right?
Oh, okay.
Yep, and sesame seeds on there.
That sounds fantastic.
Onion. So it was a little bit of an Asian flair, but it wasn't salty. As you can see, I'm very sensitive to like salty foods, and so I really love that place. Where else have I gone? I don't know. Like, let's say Food Freedom. Like, I like to go to places and try new cocktails, you know? So for a good cocktail, like the Grove in Delray Beach.
The Grove
has like
fantastic.
amazing cocktails, right? I even love like some of Elizabetta's cocktails are really good.
Yeah.
They actually infuse their own tequila. They have a drink on the menu called the Cinqueterra. And so I love Cinqueterra. I'm Italian. And it's just like a special tequila they make with like different herbs and spices. Actually, recently though, this is what I want to talk about. Kapow in West Palm Beach. And they have...
I love
Yeah, well,
Kapow.
you guys really got me into it, you and Destiny. And, I took my retreat clients there. We had like a special table and I had a special menu. I went through the menu, picked out like
What
the
did
best
you get?
options.
We never talked about
Oh
this.
my gosh.
I need to know.
All the things. So,
I love Kapow.
Yeah.
And so many gluten-free options.
Yes.
And even like vegetarian too. They're so good about it.
Yeah. So it was a food freedom night. So I wanted them to enjoy all the things. But we ended up getting some of the bao buns. Like we did like the mushroom bao bun. We also did the Wagyu pot stickers for the beef. We got some of the short rib Mongolian tacos, which were amazing. I picked a signature cocktail for the night, which was the spicy lover.
Oh, everyone loves that one. It's not my personal favorite, but everyone loves that one.
Oh my God. Well,
I like the Seoul Sunshine. The one that has Bon Maman fig jam in it, which is my favorite like jam brand, that Bon Maman, however you say it. That's my favorite cocktail on their menu. It's so good.
Well, I like this green, because it was a green cocktail, the spicy lover. So I'm
Yes.
like, well, I'm giving you green juice on our retreat.
Right.
But it was like tequila, serrano, cucumber, cilantro. It was just like
It's really
full.
earthy.
It was, every client of mine, they loved it. So we got that. And then we all got to do different entrees. I actually had a few of my women get the warm tofu and mushroom salad. It was this massive plate. They were the happiest women in Palm Beach that night.
Oh my God, because that's one of their newer dishes.
Yeah.
I haven't had that.
I haven't either.
I'm not sure if it's gluten-free or not, but maybe it is.
They
I don't know.
loved it.
That's good that they...
Yeah.
That's a great vegan option.
It was a great vegan option. And actually, these two women are not vegan, but they were like, you know what? We're at a restaurant. We want to try something. We wouldn't make it home. So that was and these are foodies. Like all these women, like they travel, they're foodies. That is like my ideal client. And so they've been all over the world. And they were like, wow, this is like really, really good. Another popular one was the spicy beef basil. That was
another one.
It's like a short rib dish that they loved. I kept it really simple. Like I just did I think I got like the chicken salad, and I was just craving like vegetables and like some protein, and I knew I was having a couple of cocktails. That's one of my tips. Like I kind of pick and choose like where I put my calories, and I'm not a calorie counter. I'm just very aware of what I'm eating. So if I know I'm going to have, maybe some more sugars or, more calorically dense beverages, like some cocktails, I'll be more mindful of my food, right? So that night I went for the chicken and salad, and then I had a little bit more cocktails.
Even there's a salad on that menu that I get, the one that has like mango in it. I forget what it is.
I don't know if this one
that
had
was
mango
good though, but their food. I mean, I had the
good.
pad thai the last time I was there.
Ooh, nice.
And another one of my favorites is the wild mushroom chow fun with like the real thick rice noodles.
I got to go with you.
Oh my God. I seriously, like that's somewhere that I have like the same things I always get. I love their crispy rice. The avocado crispy rice is phenomenal. And you just have to get it without the soy sauce or the eel sauce or whatever that's on top, and get like gluten-free tamari. But I just love it there. And the environment, even like the West Palm and the Boca location, they're just such a vibe.
Great service. And that was important because I'm going to take these women out. I want to take them to a fun environment. I want the food to be good and clean, but service is everything.
Service is everything.
Everything. So
you could have a really good meal, but if the service isn't good, even if the food is fantastic, it's like it just puts a bad taste in your mouth. You don't really want to go back if you aren't treated well.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, and I want to take my clients, like, if they're coming for a retreat, I want to take them on a really good experience. You know, of course, I want the food to be good, the vibe, but like, I just really loved it. And what I love about Kapow too, like in our society where we talk about inflation and food costs, like Kapow was very reasonable.
Priced.
I was so in shock. Like that alone was worth it. You can take a family there and not worry about these crazy high, you know, tabs. I remember last year I took my women to a restaurant. We were in Fort Lauderdale last year for our retreat. So I took them to a different restaurant. It was very, you know, it was high end. It was a beautiful environment. Service was awful. And then the food was very mediocre, very salty.
And then probably super expensive.
So expensive, almost like double the price. And I was like, you know what? Like,
were you in Fort Lauderdale?
I was in Lauderdale, yeah. So this year, since I was in Palm Beach, I was like, I'm not going to recreate that experience. It's not even about the money. It's about like the experience, my clients.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I was so happy.
You want those women to leave here being like, that was amazing. I want to go back next year. And it's a small group. What do you have, like 6 or 7 women?
We had like 8 people this year. Yeah. And I love small retreats like that. But also too, like they were motivated. Like, you know what? Like now I can actually learn to make tofu at home. Like I could recreate this mushroom tofu salad. I never would have thought I liked this. And now I want to learn how to do it. Or like that's one thing we love to do is like this crispy fried rice. Like maybe I can try to do it a little healthier at home. So it's really inspiring sometimes to go to restaurants like this that do something so well. And you're like, okay, well maybe I can try this at home. Or maybe I'll just come back here and eat it again and know that it's like okay for my diet, you know?
Right. I love going to restaurants and getting inspiration for like different things. I don't like to cook that much, but I'll definitely take inspiration from restaurants when, you know, I'll maybe make appetizers for a party or one of our girls' nights or like our clothing swaps.
Yeah, exactly.
And I always love, you know, I think back on what are some of my favorite dishes, and Kapow always stands out for a favorite of mine.
Yeah. I don't love to cook either. Most people I work with don't love to cook. So one thing we talk about are like quick, easy recipes, like, you know, 3 to 5 ingredients, 15 minutes or less. Like you have my cookbook.
Yes.
You know, that's all our recipes pretty much. And so like I'm like you, Shaina. Like I like to cook for other people.
Yeah, I'll never make dinner. Like that's Roger's job. He makes us dinner. I'm never going to make myself dinner at home. If he's not home, I take out.
Yeah. I'll like throw something
like,
quick.
All right, somebody go happy hour with me.
Exactly. No, I'm like you, but like I like to show people like, okay, like you can make something in, you know, 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, last night I worked till 9 p.m. last night. I was starving. And so I'm like, what can I make in 5 minutes? That's in my pantry. You know? So
what did you make?
I ended up making this. I try to do meatless Monday sometimes. So I did this yesterday. I used this Explore edamame fettuccine, which is like really high protein, high fiber, low net carb. And I can put pasta down. Like I'm Italian, but I love this pasta. It's very filling. Like I can only have like a serving and I'm super full. And then I just use a little bit of my favorite tomato sauce. Which is I buy from Publix or any grocery store. It's called Pomi, and it comes in like
I've seen that.
Yeah, it comes in like a little cardboard. It's $2. I mean, I can't get over how expensive jarred pasta sauce has become, and it's full of sodium, full of oils
and sugars.
I mean, Rouse. A lot of people love Rouse. Like you guys have to know something. Rouse was just bought by Campbell's, so it's not. It's going down the drain. And then there's also like a lot of like genetically modified, like not good quality ingredients, and it's not cheap. So, and again, like if you're on the health and weight loss journey, there are so many better options out there. And this is what I teach in the program, obviously.
Yeah.
But like I love Pomi. It's inexpensive. It's super clean. It's imported from Italy. No added oil, no added salt. And guys, I don't like work for these companies, just so you guys know on the podcast. Like these are just things that like I personally use and enjoy.
Right.
And, like,
and that's your as a coach for your clients, you are here to give your recommendations and your suggestions for the best options when it comes to different brands and products.
Yep, exactly. Yeah.
So for people that might be interested in working with you or learning more about Create My Weight, how can they find information? Where can we find you on social media?
Yeah. Well, I'm all over the place. I try to be. Shaina is way better at social media than I am. But I do have a free Facebook group. It's actually called Health and Weight Loss for Foodies, because as you know, Shaina and I are foodies. And so if you go on Facebook, just search Health and Weight Loss for Foodies. You'll find the group. You can join. I do trainings in there sometimes. I'm actually doing a training next week about simple ways to detoxify your life. And so you're probably thinking like, Kristen, you and Shaina talked about alcohol for the last like 30 minutes. Like, what do you mean detoxify? And so what I mean by that is like, it's important. Like if I am consciously going to choose to drink alcohol sometimes, where can I minimize toxins in other areas of my life that is easy?
Right. And we also work out every day.
Yeah,
we
totally.
sweat. That's a detoxifier itself.
Yep.
Sweating every day and moving your body and getting your heart rate up.
Yep.
That's important.
Totally. I mean, there's so many easy ways to detoxify, and exercise is definitely a good example. So that's my Facebook group. I'm on Instagram, Create My Weight. I try to post things, guys, like, you know, and some of my entrepreneur friends, like you might understand this, like when you're a business owner, like you're behind the scenes all the time. I got to get more on Instagram. I promise that. My website's createmyweight.com. And I actually have something on there right now called the Consistency Guide, because a lot of people tell me they have a hard time being consistent. You know, they know what to do, but they kind of fall off the wagon, get on, back on, vice versa. So I have a free guide on there right now if you want to go check it out. But one thing I was going to share is because I love Shaina's podcast, and I'm so thankful that she had me on today. So if you go ahead and subscribe to Shaina's podcast, one way I'll personally connect with you and teach you more about my alcohol tips is I will send you a free copy.
If they rate a review.
If they write a review, yes. Yeah,
write a review on Apple
Yep.
Podcasts, because then I'll have the name.
Yeah, we need the name.
We need your name.
Yep, so you have to write a review. You can't just subscribe, because she doesn't know who's subscribing, but she will know who writes a review. So if you write a review, I will personally send you my alcohol guide, which is all of my tips for drinking, whether you're at home or whether you're out. And
So yeah, if you write the review and you want that information in the review, leave your name and your email address, or send me a DM on Instagram, Take a Bite Out of Boca, and let me know you wrote a review, and so I can give your information to Kristen.
Yeah, exactly.
And that'll be a super helpful guide.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And and the consistency guide on the website is cool.
Yeah, that's a favorite. Yeah.
And every once in a while, Kristen will host these webinars.
Yep.
I did one of your webinars. It was like spring clean your routine a couple weeks ago. And there were a lot of really interesting tidbits that that were totally new to me. That was actually when you talked about how alcohol affects your hormones. That was something I did not know about. So I learned it's very helpful and informational. And you know what? Like Kristen said, she loves the podcast. I'm so happy that you're here. I'm supporting you as well. I love all of the work that you put out. You put out these videos, these great like comparing different products, and when you're in the grocery stores and talking about like the protein bar one, I always like listening to, because I'm always looking for good ones. I know you love the IQ bars.
I love the IQ bars.
My current favorite is Stars and Honey.
I haven't tried that one.
I think you'd like it.
Ooh.
It's got 10 grams of collagen protein in it, and I have to show you the stats.
Okay.
It's Roger and my like favorite go-to. I found them on Instagram. They like totally Instagram targeted both of us separately. He ordered his own. I ordered my own. We didn't know we both ordered the same brand, and then they both showed up, and I was like, oh, I like this brand too. It was like weird, but that's been my go-to.
Oh, I love that.
There was something else I wanted to ask you. Oh, going back to restaurants. So I always like to ask my guests this, and I just realized I forgot to ask my last guest, Michael Schwartz, on my last episode, this question, because it's really always interesting, and I like putting people on the spot. What is your biggest pet peeve when you go to a restaurant?
Ooh. Well, I mentioned bad service, but and then like
aside from
something
else, getting
I know.
a little bit nitpicky, and you can be nitpicky here.
Okay,
I've gotten some. After you tell me yours, I'll tell you some of my favorites that others have told me.
And I'm also going to share, guys, like I was a waitress for years. I truly think everyone in this country should work in a restaurant. Yes, bus tables.
I was a hostess one summer.
Okay, I bussed, I served. Like I haven't bartended because I couldn't handle it. Like I give bartenders so much credit.
So much credit.
So hard.
I don't think I'd be able to deal with people the way they do.
Not at all. Because I know like I'm annoying with drinks, so I can't imagine dealing with me.
Dealing with rude people.
Yeah,
even more than annoying.
Yeah. So I would say if I had to pick one, my biggest pet peeve is if I order a salad and I specifically ask for dressing on the side, and then the dressing comes on the salad, right? So, and actually this happened a few weeks ago. I was out with some girlfriends, and like I don't like wasting food, right? Like one of my biggest pet peeves in society is food waste, right? We waste over 50% of the food that's produced in this country, and I think it's a total travesty. But that's another story. So when I go to a restaurant and like I don't like soggy vegetables, like that's just the worst. So like I
agree with
always, and one of my biggest tips is ordering dressings on the side, just because again I don't like soggy vegetables, and it's just like a lot of extra calories for no reason. So if I go to a restaurant, I specifically ask for that, and then the salad's brought with it on. Sometimes it's not the server's fault, like sometimes it's just like a kitchen error. But I'm not someone that's gonna like send a salad back, because all they're gonna do is throw it away, and then they're gonna make a new one. restaurant. And what I do if this happens, I don't make a big deal out of it, is I will just say, hey, you know, I ordered this without dressing on it, but it came on it. Is it possible for you to just bring me another bed of lettuce? Like bring me like an extra bowl of just plain lettuce so I can like mix in.
Oh.
So it's like less dressing,
Yes.
you know, in general, you know.
That's smart.
And usually I have never had a problem with a server saying, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'll totally do that. I'm not asking for more toppings, which
Yeah,
are
you're
the
just like,
expensive.
give me some lettuce.
Give me some more lettuce, right? So it's a win-win because the server is like, you know, he's like, oh, okay, this is an easy fix. And then I'm like, hey, I get more food. Like I'm a volume eater. And what I mean by that is like the more food, the better. Like when I get full, you know, so it's more lettuce. Maybe I'll take some home if I have extras. But that's one, you know, pet peeve of mine that I can easily fix at a restaurant.
I like that you have a solution for it.
Always. Yep. I'm a problem solver.
That's because no one else that has told me about their pet peeves has offered a solution. But some of my favorites were, well, you know my friend Amber.
Yeah.
So Amber said, and this was actually a really good one that I never thought about, and now she said it, and I always think about it. When you go from like your appetizer to the entree, and they take your silverware, and oh my God, how did she word it? It was something like she doesn't want to ever put her silverware on the table. Like, you know, like they'll take your plate, but they leave the silverware.
Yeah.
Like, where do you put it? On the table? And so she was saying, like, I want them to, I think that's what she was saying. Oh my God, I'm like blanking on the exact wording, but it had something to do with the silverware on the table. And then another chef that was on said something about the tine on the fork. Like, sometimes the tine is like kind of bent or just off or like crooked.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, that is the nitpicky.
That's nitpicky.
But I loved it. I thought it was hilarious. And then now that's something I feel like I search for. I'm like, is this tying off on my fork? It's weird.
That's so funny.
But a lot of people that in the industry always say, like, don't stack all your dishes.
Oh.
Especially like putting the napkins on.
What?
Stuff like that. It's interesting.
Okay, I never knew that.
One of mine that, well, one of Roger's that has now become mine is like when they come over with the check and like he's ready with his credit card or I'm ready with my credit card to pay and they just bolt and then they don't come back for like 30 minutes. Yeah. And you're like, I'm ready to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where are you? We can do this easy.
Yeah.
It's like there's like no sense of urgency sometimes.
How do you guys do in Europe when you like it takes 2 hours to get your check?
That was I think by the end we just kind of learned. We were like, all right. At least there when you have a drink, like you have snacks.
Yeah, that's true.
That's why doesn't America do that?
We need to do that. I agree.
That was my favorite thing about Italy.
I remember when you went, you mentioned that as soon as you came home.
I was like, no matter what. I mean, granted, these snacks were like potato chips and nuts and like
it's
all
just thoughtful.
This, but that's nice. It's good. It keeps you there. Keeps you ordering the salty snacks.
Yeah, no, I agree. I actually just thought of one pet peeve that you might share if like you have a cocktail on your in front of you and like you have like a couple sips left
and
they come and take it from you.
They try to do it with my wine. I'm like, excuse me.
Right.
There's a solid sip or two left.
That's like a $2 sip.
Yeah, like exactly. Like why are you that's waste.
Right,
That's
exactly.
Waste.
No food waste.
Don't waste.
Yeah.
No drink waste either.
Mm-mm.
That is definitely one. Like why? And then sometimes they do it so fast, like you're not even paying attention. They just grab me. I'm like, I wasn't done.
Right. Yeah.
There's still drinks in there.
Yeah. No, I agree. That's a pet peeve.
Especially when you get like in some, I won't say any names, but there's some places where like the cocktails come in the like lowball glasses and it's basically like all ice and like 4 sips and it's $12 or $15 and you're like, I just got 2 sips of my margarita or my whatever it is.
Oh my God. So, I go to Telluride. Shaina came to see me in Telluride last year with Roger.
The
and
best place.
The best cocktails, great food.
Oh my God. The food there is fantastic.
Amazing.
Really good.
But yeah, we have some restaurants where like they serve like lowball cocktails, margaritas, which are amazing. And my boyfriend Scott loves margaritas. I swear he's like half Mexican because he can eat Mexican food like all day, every day. But like, yeah, like a margarita will be like 5 sips and it's like $18 or something. And you're like, no, like don't take that away from me or else. Like, protect your margarita.
Yeah. Oh my God, I hope I can get back to Telluride soon. Yeah. I loved it up there. What a beautiful place.
It's special, yeah. And it's hard to find a mountain town with like good food.
Yeah.
And good cocktails.
Definitely had good food.
And like you have like your low key, like you can roll up in your hiking clothes, and just grab fast casual, or there's like nice like elevated places. So that's why I love Telluride. There's like the best of both worlds.
Yeah, I think we did a
little
bit of both.
Yep.
After that we were there for like a week.
Yeah.
That was a great time.
Oh my God.
Bluegrass Music Festival Oh, we had such a good time.
Yeah.
The one thing, though, about Telluride is the weather, man.
Oh, gosh.
In June, the
yeah.
weather was like, one day I was freezing. I had to buy a hat and gloves and the socks and everything. And then the next day it's raining. And then the next day we're in sundresses.
Right.
With no jacket. We're like, it was crazy.
Yeah.
So now if I go back there, depending on the time of year, I have to pack for like 3 different weathers. 3 different weather conditions.
I agree. My favorite months there are probably September, October, because it's more consistent weather.
That's good to know.
And the leaves are changing. And
it's so pretty.
Oh my gosh. It's like nice and cool in the morning, warm in the afternoon, and then it cools down in the evening. So that's ideal.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that you go back and forth. But we have you here for a couple more weeks, and that's why we're doing our event right before you go back to Colorado for the season.
Yeah.
So again, May 31st at Pixelworks, 5:30 to 7:30. There's going to be a link in the caption for you here on the podcast if you want to join. $35 gets you either the signature low ABV cocktail or the mocktail, and we'll have plenty of low-calorie, low-sugar Silt Bar. We'll have some healthy snack or appetizers and desserts. She's doing a really interesting dessert.
Oh, yeah. I'm so excited for it.
And then, you'll get to hear from Kristen and myself and meet some really wonderful people in the community and learn about Pixelworks. And if you are interested in podcasting, you can check out the studio here, too.
Yep.
So there's a lot going on that Friday night, and we're excited about it.
Yeah, we're going to pack a lot in 2 hours.
Yeah,
so
we are.
I'm super pumped for it.
It'll be a good night. It'll be really fun. So once again, if you are interested in Kristen's company, Create My Weight, you can check her out at createmyweight.com or at Create My Weight on Instagram. And then the Facebook group was
Health and Weight Loss for Foodies.
And just search that on Facebook. Yeah. And do you have to be approved? Or is it like?
I keep it private.
Yeah.
So just answer a couple questions and then you'll be in.
And
Super
there's
easy.
a lot of really good resources being part of that group.
Yep.
Like-minded individuals, and that you'll just be part of that community.
Yeah.
And and then also remember, Kristen promised she will send the alcohol guide to you if you go on Apple Podcasts and leave me a glowing 5-star review, and then either put your name and email in the review or shoot me a DM on Instagram and let me know you left the review so I can connect you to Kristen.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming and being here with me today. This was fun.
I know, this is so fun.
I mean, this is stuff that you and I talk about all the time.
All the time.
Like, and we can go for hours and hours and hours. And I don't feel like all of our friends are the same as us in that. Like, they probably get sick of hearing us talk. They're
like, "Where's the prosecco?" Enough of the health talk.
We love talking about this, and it was only made sense to have you come on the podcast right before our event. Yeah. So, I really appreciate you being here, and thank you guys all for listening. Is there anything else you'd like to let everyone know?
Yeah, no, guys. I just want to say thank you for having me, Shaina, because, again, I think this is a very special lifestyle, and it takes, balance. It takes a good community. And like I mentioned, we're really grateful for our community here.
Accountability.
Accountability. I have an online community of people that are like us. So if you don't live locally, again, I work with clients all over the country, even now in Europe. So if you are looking for that community and that support system, we've got you. Thanks for having me.
Cool. Thank you guys all for listening. Remember to leave a review, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.